Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from the book The Laws of Nature and Infallible Justice by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Continuing from text 30 of chapter 2. After leaving this body, the man who maintained himself and his family members by sinful activities suffers a hellish life, and his relatives suffer also. Purport. The mistake of modern civilization is that the man doesn't believe in next life. But whether he believes or not, next life is there, and one has to suffer if one doesn't lead a responsible life in terms of the injunctions of authoritative scriptures like the Vedas and Puranas. Species lower than human beings are not responsible for their actions because they are made to act in a certain way. But in developed life of human consciousness, one who doesn't act responsibly is sure to get a hellish life as described herein. Text 31. He goes alone to the darkest regions of hell after quitting the present body, and the money he acquired by envying other living entities is the passage money with which he leaves this world. Purport. When a man earns money by unfair means and maintains his family and himself with that money, the money is enjoyed by many members of the family, but he alone goes to hell and suffers the resultant sinful reactions acquired by such a violent and illicit life. For example, if a man secures some money by killing someone and with that money maintains his family, those who enjoy the black money earned by him are also partially responsible and are also sent to hell. But he who is the leader is especially punished. The money he earned is left in this world and he takes only the sinful reactions. In this world also, if a person acquires some money by murdering someone, the family is not hanged, although its members are sinfully contaminated, but the man who commits the murder and maintains his family is himself hanged as a murderer. Direct offender is more responsible for sinful activities than the indirect enjoyer. The great learned scholar Chanakya Pandit says, therefore, that whatever one has earned in possession has better to be spent for the cause of Sat, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because one cannot take his possessions with him. They remain here, and they will be lost. Either we will leave the money or the money will leave us, but we will be separated. The best use of the money, as long as it is within our possession, is to spend it to acquire and propagate Krishna consciousness. Text 32. Thus, by the arrangement of Supreme Personality of Godhead, the maintainer of kinsmen is put into a hellish condition to suffer for his sinful activities, like a man who has lost all his wealth. Purport. The example set herein is that the sinful person suffers just like a man who has lost all his wealth. The human form of body is achieved by the conditioned souls after many, many births and is a very valuable asset. Instead of utilizing this life to get liberation, if one uses it simply for the purpose of maintaining his so called family and therefore performs foolish and unauthorized actions, he is compared to a man who has lost all his wealth and who, upon losing it, laments. When wealth is lost, there is no use of lamenting. But as long as wealth is there, one has to utilize it properly and thereby gain eternal profit. It may be argued that when a man leaves his money earned by sinful activities, he also leaves his sinful activities here with his money. But it is especially mentioned herein that by the superior arrangement, although the man leaves behind his sinfully earned money, he carries the effect of it. When a man steals some money, if he is caught and agrees to return it, he is not freed from the criminal punishment. By the law of the state, even though he returns the money, he has to undergo the punishment. Similarly, the money earned by a criminal process may be left by the man by dying, but by the superior arrangement, he carries him with him the effect, and therefore he has to suffer a hellish life. Text 33. Therefore, a person who is very eager to maintain his family and kinsmen simply by black methods certainly goes to the darkest regions of hell, which is known as Andhatamisra. Purport. Three words in this verse are very significant. Kevalena means only by black methods. Adharmena means unrighteous or irreligious. And Kutumba Bharana means family maintenance. Maintaining one's family is certainly the duty of every householder, but one should be eager to earn his livelihood by the prescribed methods, as stated in the scriptures. In Bhagavad Gita, it is described that the Lord has divided the social system into four classifications of caste or varnas according to the quality and work. Apart from Bhagavad Gita, in every society, a man is known according to his quality and work. For example, When a man earns his livelihood by constructing wooden furniture, he is called a carpenter, and a man who works with an anvil and an iron is called a blacksmith. Similarly, a man who is engaged in the medical or engineering fields has a particular duty and designation. All these human activities have been divided by the Supreme Lord into four varnas, namely the Brahmanas, who are the intellectuals and priests, the Kshatriyas, who are warriors and administrators, the Vaishyas, who are merchants and farmers, and the Shudras, who are manual laborers. In the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic scriptures, the specific duties of Brahmana, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras are mentioned. One should work honestly according to his qualification. He should not earn his livelihood unfairly or in a way which is not qualified. If someone claims to be a Brahmana and works as a priest, attracting people who expect to be enlightened about spiritual way of life, but he is not qualified as a priest, then he is cheating the public. One should not earn one's livelihood by such unfair means. The same is applicable to a Kshatriya and a Vaishya. It is especially mentioned that the means of livelihood of those who are trying to advance in Krishna consciousness must be very fair and uncomplicated. Here it is mentioned that whoever earns his livelihood by unfair means, kevalena, is sent to the darkest hellish regions. Otherwise, if one maintains his family by prescribed methods and honest means, there is no objection of one being a family man. Text 34. Having gone through all the miserable, hellish conditions and having passed in a regular order through the lowest forms of animal life prior to human birth, and having thus been purged of one's sins, one is reborn again as a human being on this earth. Purport. Just as a prisoner who has undergone troublesome prison life is set free again, the person who has always engaged in impious and mischievous activities is put into hellish conditions. And when he has undergone different hellish lives, namely those of the lower animals like cats, dogs, and hogs, by gradual process of evolution, he again comes back as a human being. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that even though a person engaged in practice of yoga system may not finish perfectly or may fall down for some reason or the other, his next life as a human being is guaranteed. It is stated that such a person who has fallen from the path of yoga practice is given a chance in next life to take birth in a very rich family or in a very pious family. It is interpreted that rich family refers to a big merchantine family, because generally people who are very rich engage in business. One who is engaged in the process of self-realization or connecting with the supreme absolute truth, but fell short is allowed to take birth in such a rich family, or is allowed to take birth in a very pious family of Brahmanas. Either way, he is guaranteed to appear in human society in his next life. It can be concluded that if someone is not willing to enter hellish life, as in Tamishra or Andhya then he must take to the process of Krishna consciousness, which is first class yoga system. Because even if one is unable to attain complete Krishna consciousness in this life, he is guaranteed at least to take his next birth in a human family. He cannot be sent into hellish condition. Krishna consciousness is the purest life, and it protects all human beings from gliding down to hell to take birth in a family of dogs and hogs. With this, we finish our second chapter named Bad Karma. Now we start the third chapter, which is the peace formula. The laws of nature work collectively as well as individually. In the following brief but cogent statement, Srila Prabhupada explains that if we want to break out of the tangled web of collective karma that is wreaking havoc in present-day society, if we want peace both collectively and individually, we need to take to Krishna consciousness seriously. The great mistake of modern civilization is to encroach upon others' property as though it were one's own and thereby create an unnecessary disturbance of the laws of nature. These laws are very strong. No living entity can violate them. Only one who is Krishna conscious can easily overcome the stringent laws of nature and thus become happy and peaceful in the world. As the state is protected by the Department of Law and Order, so the state of universe, of which this earth is only an insignificant fragment, is protected by the laws of nature. This material nature is one of the different potencies of the Lord, who is the ultimate proprietor of everything that be. This earth is, therefore, the property of God, but we, the living entities, especially the so-called civilized human beings, are claiming God's property as our own under both individual and collective false conception. If you want peace, You have to remove this false conception from your mind and from the world. This false conception, its false claim of proprietorship by the human race on the earth, is partly or wholly the cause of all disturbances of peace on earth. Foolish, so-called civilized men are claiming proprietary rights on the property of God because they have now become godless. You cannot become happy and peaceful in a godless society. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that he is the factual enjoyer of all activities of all the living entities, that he is the supreme lord of all universes, and that he is the well-wishing friend of all beings. When the people of the world know this as the formula for peace, it is then and there that peace will prevail. Therefore, if you want peace at all, you have to change your consciousness into Krishna consciousness, both individually and collectively, by the simple process of chanting the holy names of God. This is a standard and recognized process for achieving peace in this world. We therefore recommend that everyone become Krishna conscious by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is practical, simple, and sublime. 500 years ago, this formula was introduced in India by Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya and now is available throughout the world. Take to this simple process of chanting as above mentioned. Realize your factual position by reading the Bhagavad Gita as it is and re-establish your lost relationship with Krishna, God. Peace and prosperity will be the immediate worldwide result. With this, we finish with the book The Laws of Nature and Infallible Justice. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.